Here we are once again in the B-Movie Bunker, folks. Welcome. Today we're looking at 2012's The Woman in Black, brought to us by James Watkins. This stars Daniel Radcliffe. This is a period piece going back more turn of the century type, or even a little before. Well, turn of the century, because there's an automobile. Daniel Radcliffe plays a lawyer, Arthur Kipps, who has to go out into this rural community to basically close up the estate of this woman who has died, on Eagle Marsh Estate. In a typical horror film, you have a house built where nobody would ever build a fucking house, but sets up the story. People in town don't want him there, and as the story unfolds, you find out why. Because there's the woman in black. Whenever anyone sees her, a child dies somewhere, because this is a woman who had her baby taken from her, and as her vengeful spirit goes around killing children, as you know, because that's what vengeful spirits do. They're vengeful without real reason and logic. I like this movie. It had a good creepy kind of vibe at times. The whole, it's the darkened hallways and the little bits of noises and stuff. There wasn't a lot of there were a couple little jump scare type things, which I'm not a huge fan of the jump scares, but used to a small extent here and there, I don't mind it that much. When a movie solely relies upon that, I'm done. But I think that it took me. I've seen this one twice now, and it took me a little bit because it is still getting off Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, and you still kind of hear that and you see it because he's still very young. But once you get past that, he does a very good job, and acting in general is done very well, and the costuming is brilliant, and the sets and the scenery and the atmosphere of the movie is fantastic. Is it cliche? Well, yeah, it's a haunted house ghost story type thing. Yes, it's cliche, but if we took away every haunted house ghost story except for one, what do we have? If we did nothing that was like anything else, there wouldn't be much out there. Everything kind of has a start somewhere, and you're going to get some of that cliche. I still enjoyed this one. You don't get this type of movie very often because a lot more times they try to go for how twisted and weird looking can we make the monster or the ghost, and how gory can we make it. There's no gore in this movie. There's the woman in black really is just kind of a woman, and yeah, there's a little bit of creepiness to it, but it's not that so in your face that they're trying so hard by throwing as much CGI as they possibly can in your face of limbs twisting backwards and people climbing up walls, and up on the ceiling and heads twisting around and the giant shrieks and the faces exploding. You don't get that. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is this is like a modern version of like the classic Hammer horror films that I grew up on, where the stories are stories that you've heard before. It's back then it was vampires primarily, Dracula and stuff like that, but you had some ghost stories, and this was a ghost story. But you knew that regardless of what was in it, how good the story was, you knew you were going to get pretty good acting, because Brits in general, I think, their bad actors, I think, would be average or better actors in America, just because I think so many of the actors there do so much theater work ahead of time, and they actually just, I don't know, maybe it's the accent that just makes them seem like they're a better actor, because they have the accent. So maybe to a British person, they could tell, well, that person's terrible, look how wooden they are. I can't tell. And the costuming is always fantastic, and the setting and just the scenery, which, because there's still a lot of that cool architecture and stuff out there in England to go out and get. They don't have to make this whole 1800s looking city from scratch, because they fucking have those there. They don't need to make a 200 or 300 year old mansion set, because those exist out there. Yes, I'm sure they use sets for this, but the thing is that you have so much of that there, and I think it shows in their films. I liked it. It was, like I said, it was a good, more modern ghost story. It's not a fantastic film. Initially, I did not like the ending, and I'm not going to spoil the ending. I'm just going to say I didn't like the initial ending. But then, the more I thought about it, the more I thought of, there are several ways you can interpret the ending. And I liked that. I like the fact that I never like getting the concrete, this is simply the way at horror. I like to have kind of more of an ambiguous end. And I suppose it's a little bit spoiling, as that it's not a solid, definite thing, but I like the fact that it can be interpreted in different ways. I like that. So that's all I have for this one. Until next time, stay safe out there in the wasteland, folks. And don't build your house in the middle of a marsh where the tide comes in and you can't get anywhere, and then take away your sister's child so she becomes a vengeful spirit. That's all bad.